So this might possibly turn out to be one of the most boring videos on YouTube, but it's something I'm interested in, so I thought I'd share it. I currently run a 2011 MacBook Pro, and because I run the 17-inch and they haven't refreshed and made a new 17-inch unit, I've been resisting upgrading. But one of the things I'm missing is USB 3, because the ports on my machine are only USB 2. So I thought what we'd do is have a look and see what the real world differences are. See, in my world, I spend a lot of time moving around things like VMware images and stuff like that, and they can be quite sizable. Some of them are 40, 50, 60 gigabytes, so getting them off onto external storage or importing them can take a little while. So let's have a look and see what the difference is. So this is on my MacBook Pro. So this is with an SSD attached via USB 2. So if we have a quick look at the speed test of the external SSD when plugged in on USB 2. So let me just select the right drive. There we go, it's called test SSD. We'll choose that. We'll just run the test. So what we're getting, write 28 megabits, read I'm guessing will be a little bit more but not a lot more. There you go. And as you can see, over USB 2 for an SSD, that's pretty terrible. Conversely, if I change this now and put it on the internal SSD, for example, there we go. And now run the tests. There you go, write speeds of, 250. Bear in mind I'm currently recording video to this drive as well. So as you can see, they're significantly different. So just by way of an example, a real world example, what I'm going to do is copy a fairly substantial file to the test SSD. And then we can just see how long it takes, and then we can do the same thing with the drive connected over USB 3. So I'm just going to copy this. It's just a small aperture library. It's 2.1 gigabytes. So let's run that. Just copy it across. We'll take a few minutes. Well, let's see how long it takes. And there we go, it's done. I told you this video wouldn't be particularly interesting. Let's copy it back the other way. So I'll just get rid of it off my desktop. And I'll bring it back. Reading always tends to be a bit faster. Go, that's done now. So let's jump across to the iMac. That's got USB 3 ports on it, and we'll have a look at the same thing. We should be able to do a complete side-by-side comparison. So here we are on the 2012 iMac. This is the i5 unit, I think. Not particularly interested in the iMac itself right now. Let's look at the disk performance. So I've plugged in the SSD in USB 3 this time. So let's check out the disk performance. We'll fire at the disk test. There we go. We'll make sure we've got the right drive. There we go. It's our test SSD, so I'm going to choose that. And we'll run the test. There you go. As you can see immediately, the performance is so considerably different. It's far faster on USB 3. I know there's no real surprise there, but what I was looking for is actually what the real difference was when copying larger files around. There you go. So let's have a look at the real world difference, what it makes when I copy this 2 gig file, I think it was. So what I'm going to do is just pop onto here and get rid of what's on there at the minute. There we go. There's our file. It's a small aperture library. It's about 2 gigabytes. Now on USB 2, it took about 75 seconds. So let's see what it takes on USB 3. There we go. Let's let it copy. There we go. So just quickly counting on my watch, that looked that it took about 14 seconds. Conversely, let's look at it the other way. Let's get rid of that. and I'll just copy it back. So again, on my watch, I've got that down as 14 seconds. So just to be clear, I mean, nobody's surprised that this is a hell of a lot faster than USB 2. What I just wanted to show, though, is what the real world difference was. So on USB 2, for example, those copies took about 75 seconds, whereas on this one, they're taking about 14 or 15 seconds. So, yeah, there is a fair substantial difference between the two, and it's a real one as well, one that you can probably take advantage of. I certainly think it's fast enough now to be able to run things like VMware Fusion images actually from a USB 3 drive, for example, rather than having to drag it to the internal machine. So yeah, it's certainly encouraging me to upgrade.